Okay, so in this video, we are going to go through creating a resource, or in this case, a post. We already covered listing resources or posts and also paginating them. And now we want to create one. So when we click on this create page, we want to have a form and then see how we can save these posts in our database. So let's just start by creating a page for it first. So I'm going to go to our resources folder, then views JS, and then within the pages, I'm going to create a new document and I'm going to call it create.jsx. So we just want to return a React component here. So let's say export default function, call it create. And for now, let's just return an h1 that says create a new post and give it the class title. So remember, we are using a resource controller and we are creating our routes through that controller. So if we go to our terminal and list our routes using PHP artisan route list, we have this route, which is a get method. It goes to /posts and then create, and we can use the create function in our post controller to render that create view. So let's open our post controller, and if you scroll down, we have this create method, and we just want to return an inertia component or view. We called our component create. And since this is directly under the pages folder, we just have to provide the name. So now let's open our layout and fix this link, because right now it goes to /create, but now we have /posts, then create. So we just have to add this to this href and it should be fine. Now, if we go back to our project or website and press create, we see our title. So in our create component, we just want to create a simple form that has one input field or a text area in this case, because we have only a post body. So let's start by creating a div under the h1. And within that, I'm going to create a form. We don't need the action. And within the form, I will have a text area. We don't need the name or ID. And for now, I'm just going to leave it like that. Then we will have our button. And for a button, I have a class called primary btn. And also I want to add margin top 4. So for the button, we just want to say create post, for example. So this is our text area and button. If I zoom in here, it's easier to see. Now let's apply some classes before we move on. So first I want to put the width maybe half and MX auto. So now it's centered, and I want to provide a default height using the rows attribute. So now it's easier to use. Now the next step is to get the value of this text area and send it to our backend so we can save it in our database. Now with Inertia, we have a form helper. And if you go to Inertia documentations under forms, we have a section down here that is called form helper. And we are going to use this. But before doing anything, I'm just going to import it and log it to the console to see what we have. So I just want to say use form and import it from Inertia React. So we need to invoke it, and then let's see what we get in our console. And let's open the console here, and I'm going to refresh our site. So now we have this object that has all these properties. So for instance, we have get, delete, or post. These are the HTTP methods that we can use. For example, if we are going to make a post request, then we can extract that post property or method from the use form so we can use it when we submit the form. Or if we are making a delete request, so there is a delete function. So we have the typical HTTP methods, but aside from that, we also have our data. So this is where our form data should go. Then we have our set data. So for instance, when we use the use state hook in React, we have two elements in an array. One is the data itself, and then a function that would set that data to whatever value we want. So in this use form hook, we have a similar thing. We have our data that is an object, and also the set data that is used to update the values within that object. We also have other properties like processing. So this value would turn true when the form is processing, and we can use this on our button to disable it when the form is processing, so the users would not submit the form multiple times. We also have an errors object that would be filled if there is an error, and some other properties and functions that we don't need to worry about it at this point. We just need to extract the properties and the functions we need. So let's go back to our project, and I'm going to say const here, and then use the curly brackets to extract whatever I want from the use form. So we need the data, then we need the set data, then we are going to make a post request. So we need the post function, then I'm going to grab the errors as well. And at the end, we will get the processing property. So we're going to use all of this in our form, and now we want to set this to use form, and this use form hook or function would take the initial values for our form. So again, we can pass an object here and add the input fields in our form. Now in our case, we only have a body, so I'm just going to say body, and for the initial value, we would just set an empty string. But if you had other input fields, and it could be any type, you can just add it here and set an initial value for it. So now we want to use these properties on our form. So first, for the text area, we want to set the value to data, then body. So this would correspond to this body, which is an empty string. Now we want to listen for changes on this text area. So I can use the onChange attribute, and I'm going to put this in a new line so it's easier to see. Then I'm going to pass an anonymous function. Then I'm going to accept the event as a parameter here, and then listen for the changes on this event target. So we want to use our set data function, and then we want to set the value of the body. So the first argument here is the name of our field or property, in this case body, and then the value for it. Now the value is from this text area, so target value. Now let's test this out and see if this works. So I'm just going to output data body on the screen so we can see if it works. So back to our website. If I type something here, you notice it is also shown on the screen. So it is working. We are able to get the data out of the form. So the next step is to submit this form. So I'm going to delete this console.log and then create a function here. And I'm going to call it submit. Again, we are going to accept event because we need to prevent the default. Then we need to make a post request to a URL. Now the URL we want to use is this one. This is from our post controller, and the store method is in charge of storing a post in our database. So we want to submit that form to /posts. I can just pass posts here and we should be good to go. Now let's go to our post controller to handle that request. So first of all, you notice our store method is using this request class that was generated when we created our class. We actually don't need this, so I want to replace this with the request class from HTTP. And if you scroll up, you should have this one, and we can delete these two that are coming from the requests folder. So I'm going to delete these, and down here we have another one which is for our update method. So let's change this one to request as well. Otherwise we will get an error, and we can actually delete this requests folder. We don't need it anymore. So I'm going to delete it. So now it's easier to see what's going on. This is our typical Laravel function that is going to handle a post request. And all we want to do here, just die and dump the request object and see what we get. Before we actually test this out, let's add the onSubmit on our form and say we want to use that submit function up here. All right, let's test this out. I'm going to add a text here. This is a new post, and press create post. So we get our request object in a model instead of a new page because now we have an SPA. And if we inspect our request under parameters, we have one element, which is our body, and the value we just typed. So that means our backend is able to read the properties of our form. Now all we have to do is to save this into our database, but before that we need to do a bit of validation. So let's go back to our project and to our post controller. In the store method, we want to validate that body input field before we do anything. So in Laravel series, we covered this. We want to grab the request object, and then we have a validate method on this. So this validate method takes an array, and within this array, we can pass the name of our input fields, and the value for that input field is going to be the rules. So again, we can pass an array here, or we can use text and separate the rules with a pipe. For example, I want to say that this field is required, and that is the only rule I have. So if I had other rules, I can just pass here. For example, minimum character is going to be, I don't know, 10, or I could just add as many rules as I want. But I think this required rule is enough for us to test things out. So now we have a validation rule before our die and dump statement. Let's go back to our form, and I'm going to bring up console here, refresh our site. And in fact, let's go back to our home component, console.log the errors from our use form hook. At the moment, you notice the object is empty. But if I press create without adding anything, we get a value in our object where the key is the body because that's the name of our input field, and the value is the default message from Laravel. So the body field is required. Now, all we have to do is to show that error message somewhere in our form. So let's go back to our home component, and under the text area, I'm just going to use the curly brackets because first I want to check if there is an error. So we can say if errors body is true, do something. So using the logical operator, which is 2 ampersand, we want to maybe generate a p tag here, and the content of this p tag should be the same thing. So errors body. I also have a class error that I can add here. And now if we go back to our website, you notice we have the error. If we give it a refresh, we don't have it, but if I press create button, you notice we see our error. We can even apply conditional classes to our text area. So if there is an error, we would make the border red. So let's do that. So in our text area, under the unchanged attribute, I'm going to use the class name attribute and set it to curly brackets, because first I want to check if errors body is true. Again, we want to use the logical operator and apply some CSS classes. So I'm going to say exclamation ring red 500, and in Tailwind, to say a class is important, we just use the exclamation mark before the class name. So now back to our website, you can see the border is red. If I give it a refresh, we see nothing, but if there is an error, we see the message as well as the red border. Now remember, we also had this processing attribute that is a Boolean. So when the form is processing, this property will be true, otherwise it will be false. So for example, on our button, we can bind that to the disabled attribute and say, if the processing is true, then the button should be disabled. And I already have disabled classes included in this primary btn class. So going back to our project, if we press create post, for a split second, we see our button becomes disabled. Now to see this effect better, let's go to our post controller. Let's add the sleep function here, add 2 for 2 seconds, then do the rest. So we are saying sleep for 2 seconds or delay for 2 seconds and then do the rest. So back to our project. So as I press the button is disabled, and we also have our indicator up there as well as on the form. So now we are handling the form properly, and we just have to save our post in our database. So back to our project, we want to save this post if the validation pass. So we already know how to create a resource. We want to grab our post model and then use the create a static method on it that would take an array with all the properties that our model needs. Again, in our case, it's just this body. The easiest way is to save this array inside a variable, so we can just pass it down here. Now, after that is done, we are going to return a redirect to the home page, just like this. So we should be able to test this out properly. So I'm going to say this is my first post and press create. We're going to wait 2 seconds and we are back to the home page, and our post is on the top because we said we want to see the latest first. So that's all about creating a resource using Inertia.Js and our front-end application, which is React in this case. So all we have to do, use the use form hook and extract the properties we need. So in most cases, you need the data and the set data because you are going to work with some data and you need to change those values. Then you need your HTTP method because you are going to make a request using that method. Then you need your errors to show to the users if there was an error. And you can also use the processing if you wanted to. And of course, you saw it in the log before that there are other properties that we can use for different purposes. And you can read all about it in the Inertia documentation. So that's about creating a resource. In the next video, we want to create a single page for each post. So let's do that in the next video.